Hello everyone, this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3 back here with a new video, and happy 2022! So, for the Retro Review series, the beginning of the Retro Review series, for 2022, I am doing WWE's Royal Rumble 2004. Took place January 25th, 2004 in the Wachovia Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Yeah, believe it or not, last week, I actually was in Philadelphia last week, flying home from my trip. So, yeah, I flew in from Philadelphia on my trip, and then flew back from Philadelphia. So anyway, on to the review. So, you got two commentary teams. For Monday Night Raw, you got Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler, and Jonathan Coachman. And then for SmackDown, you got Michael Cole and Taz. So, we open with a tables match for the World Tag Team Championships as Batista and Ric Flair defeat the Dudley Boys in a very lackluster tables match. This was, I really wish this would have been a regular two tag team tables match where both members of each team had to go through a table. But no, this was just one person going through the table, and that was Devon. Ric Flair was almost put through the table by the Dudleys, and then Jonathan Coachman, who on the previous episode of Raw, he was banged up and beaten up by the Dudleys and put through a table by the Dudleys. Stopped the Dudleys. He cost the Dudleys the chance to win back their tag titles from Ric Flair and Batista of Evolution, and Batista spinebusters Devon through the table. So, yeah, a very lackluster match to start this off. Next up, we get a match for the Cruiserweight Championship as we begin the SmackDown portion, as Rey Mysterio defeats Jamie Noble to retain the Cruiserweight Championship. And the match itself was just okay. It was just very basic, very TV match-ish. It was more of a TV match than anything else. Didn't feel special, just a freaking TV match on this show, but not the worst match on this show. Oh, don't worry, we'll be getting to that soon. Next up, it's nephew versus uncle, as Eddie Guerrero defeats his nephew Chavo Guerrero with his father, Chavo Sr., at ringside in a family grudge match. So yeah, so Los Guerreros is no more. Beginning of 2004, after the Guerreros lose their tag titles to the Bashams, they get their rematch opportunity, and of course, Chavo is jealous that everyone is all about Eddie. The fact that Eddie's the one getting the most attention. I don't really blame Chavo for getting to be jealous of his uncle. So, yeah, this leads to a match between the two at the Royal Rumble, in which Eddie beats his nephew, and then beats his nephew up after beating him in the match itself. This really wasn't as good as their matches they had in '98 in WCW. Like their Great American Bash match, I liked their match at the Great American Bash, and their Bash at the Beach match was just okay, but I think their Great American Bash match was just better than this. And this match, just felt very basic. Just felt very average. Chavo Sr., he had gotten tied to the bottom rope by his tie by Eddie. And Chavo got beaten to a bloody pulp by Eddie. So, there it is. Alright, so we got a few backstage interviews on this show. First up, we had John Cena being interviewed by Josh Matthews about Josh Matthews interviewing John Cena, and John Cena talking about oh, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. And he does it through a rap, which gets interrupted by RVD. And RVD is like, RVD. Oh, RVD. Yeah, RVD made that backstage segment. And then we even got a backstage segment where Benoit was being interviewed. Chris Benoit was being interviewed before the Royal Rumble match. And then he gets interrupted by Evolution celebrating, and how Ric Flair and Batista say Randy Orton's going to be the one to win the Royal Rumble, as Randy Orton is representing Evolution in the Rumble match. Now we get a match for the WWE Championship. This was a grudge match, months in the making, as Brock Lesnar defeats Hardcore Holly to retain the WWE Championship. And yeah, this was the worst match on this show. So, basically, a little bit of background. During a match on SmackDown between Hardcore Holly and Brock Lesnar broke Hardcore Holly's neck with a botched powerbomb, taking months out of Holly's career. In 2003, Hardcore returned in the lead up to Survivor Series and was a member of Team Angle to take on Team Lesnar. Holly got himself disqualified in that Survivor Series match of Team Angle versus Team Lesnar, as he was the first one eliminated by disqualification. So now, we get into the match itself as Holly and Lesnar. Holly gets some early offense in, and then once the actual bell rings, Lesnar begins to take over the match, and he begins dominating the match. Not a very good match, as Brock retains the WWE Championship. F5, 1, 2, 3, Brock is still the WWE Champion. Now, next up, we get into actually the best match of this entire show. Well, this show was a 2-match card after all. As we got for the World Heavyweight Championship, Triple H and Shawn Michaels in a bloody last man standing match. And I gotta say, this is probably my favorite last man standing match ever. I mean, sure, Triple H has been in last man standing matches before this, but man, him and Shawn just beat the holy hell out of each other. And I gotta say, this was my favorite last man standing match between the two. Like, although Triple H and Shawn did have other good matches in their series of matches in the early 2000s, and yes, I did love this chronicle of this entire rivalry between Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels and Triple H's rivalry was probably my second favorite feud/rivalry in all of wrestling, next to The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, of course. But this feud was just amazing, and this match was amazing as well. Both are bloody. Shawn got bloody after going through a table on the outside as he tried to moonsault Triple H on the table. Trips moved out of the way. Then, in the ring, Shawn hit Trips with a steel chair. Then, with one sweet chin music, both Triple H and Shawn Michaels went down. Both were unable to answer the 10 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the match ends in a draw, with Triple H still the World Heavyweight Champion, but both men being carried out on a stretcher. Though Shawn basically got off of his stretcher, but he was still trying to walk out, but he still had some assistants helping him. Now, it's about time to start the Royal Rumble. Now the Royal Rumble's about to start. before the Royal Rumble could get out of the way, Eric Bischoff comes out, the general manager of Raw, talking about dissing Philadelphia, saying you all love Paul Heyman just because he used to run a bunch of B-list shows in a B-list bingo hall, because he's talking shit about ECW, and, this is Philadelphia. This was the home of the original ECW. And, of course, the fans, they boo Bischoff, and then Paul Heyman comes out, and he attacks Bischoff, and they get into a bit of a scrap. The fans gave Heyman quite a pop because, this is ECW country. Of course, they were going to give Heyman a pop. They aren't going to boo Heyman because Heyman was the guy who made ECW. And then the glass shatters. Out comes Stone Cold Steve Austin, the sheriff of Raw. He says, "Hey, we're about to start the Royal Rumble, and you two are acting like a bunch of jackasses." And I love how Stone Cold Steve Austin is basically disciplining Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman like they are children, and he's like getting his dad pants on. Although, yeah, I heard Steve Austin wasn't the best father ever. I mean, yeah, he did have a falling out with his kids, but in the long run, at least Austin's doing okay for himself. But, yeah, Austin does stun Eric Bischoff, and then he stuns Paul Heyman, and then the Rumble starts. And now we get into the start of the Royal Rumble. Numbers 1 and 2. Drawing number 1 and made number 1 by Paul Heyman was Chris Benoit. Entering at number 2 was Evolution's Randy Orton. Yes, Randy Orton was number 2 in this Rumble. At number 3 in this... So, yeah, it started off early with Orton and Benoit. Then Mark Henry comes in at number 3. Then Tajiri comes in at number 4. And then Bradshaw comes in at number 5. And Bradshaw, I believe, was the first one eliminated. Yeah, Bradshaw was the first one eliminated. Number 6. I'm trying to remember who was number 6 in that Rumble. Oh, wait, it was Shelton Benjamin, I believe, who was number 6. I believe it was Shelton Benjamin who was number 6. Oh, no, wait, it was Rhino, actually. Rhino gores Mark Henry while Mark Henry is held up in the tarantula by Tajiri. Tajiri's gone. They work together to eliminate Mark Henry. Basically, this Rumble was stacked. I'll tell you that. This Rumble was stacked with stars. Going too much into the Rumble, you had Kane. When Kane came out, he came out at number 10, and he got eliminated after he heard The Undertaker's gong, and then he got eliminated by Booker T after being distracted by The Undertaker's gong after the lights went out, as it was used as a plot device to set up Kane and Undertaker for Mania 20. I remember Scott Steiner was in this Rumble, and he got eliminated by Booker T. So yeah, of course John Cena was in this Rumble, RVD was in this Rumble, Kurt Angle was in this Rumble, and then Kurt Angle got the RKO by Randy Orton, and then at number 21 was Mick Foley, who took out Test backstage. Originally, Test was supposed to be number 21, but Steve Austin says, "That was my number 21 entry, you son of a bitch. Alright, you're number 21. Get your ass to the ring right now. Get to the damn ring." So Austin sent Mick Foley to the ring, and Mick Foley gets his revenge on Randy Orton. Now, yeah, Mick Foley was supposed to be sitting front row and center, but no, Foley actually got to appear in the Rumble match and attacked Randy Orton and sent Orton over the top rope with himself just to screw Randy Orton over. Of course, they brawled all the way to the back. Nunzio got hit with Mr. Sacco while he was making his entrance, but he got interrupted by Randy, and Randy and Foley continued their brawl. Nunzio was waiting until he got thrown into the ring by John Cena, and then Nunzio got eliminated. Spike Dudley, he was supposed to compete in this match, but, he got utterly destroyed by Kane and chokeslammed on the stage before he could ever make his entrance. Yeah. So, it all came down to... So, yeah, this Rumble match was awesome. Everyone got their licks in and everything. And it all came down to Chris Benoit and Taz's pick, The Big Show. The Big Show and Benoit. This was quite a final two, especially since Kurt Angle was part of that final three, exactly. And he got eliminated by The Big Show. Benoit manages to get The Big Show over, and Benoit last eliminates The Big Show, and winning from number one, the second person besides Shawn Michaels to ever win the Royal Rumble from number one. Chris Benoit is going to WrestleMania 20. So, Royal Rumble 2004. Final thoughts. Well, it isn't the best Royal Rumble, but it definitely is not the worst Royal Rumble. I mean, it's not as offensively bad as Royal Rumble 99 was, or stupidly bad as Royal Rumble 2014. I think this Royal Rumble is just the mid-tier. It's a mid-tier Royal Rumble. Anyway, this has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I will see you guys next time for WCW's Super Brawl 9. See ya!